All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best financial advisor practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding financial advisors and wealth advisors specializing in exit planning agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was an advisor, and advisors are the main clients we serve. So, my marketing agency's mission is to help every financial advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible wealth advisor specializing in exit planning, Corwin Davidson. Corwin, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, good to see everybody and good to see you, Chris. My name's Corwin, as Chris said, and I am a wealth advisor. And the reason that I'm still doing this for so long is because I decided to specialize in exit planning. Little bit about me. I love being outdoors. We work specifically with licensed professional practice owners who also own their business, and our goal is to continue helping. My passion is helping people, and this is the route that I've found to be able to accomplish my goals and help other people that we work with accomplish their goals at the same time.
Awesome. Awesome. So definitely a lot to dig in there. I normally like to start off, how did you find yourself in this wild industry?
That's a good one. So I'm a finance grad. And so coming out of finance school, I hit a fork in the road to stay in major. It was become a financial advising professional or become a financial analyst. And I love people and I love helping. So at 23 years old, I decided to become a financial advisor. And that was a tough road at first because, as you may know, most people who are looking for financial planning help aren't looking for a 23-year-old kid to help them do it. And so along the way, I've had a couple of mentors that have helped me continue to grow and stay in this business as a young person. And then it was 2015. I found out about the BEI certified exit planning curriculum, and I went and completed that as the specialty that I can niche down to and very specifically help a targeted audience with something that nobody's really helping them with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems like a brilliant niche to focus on, Corwin. We've interviewed over 100 advisors, and oftentimes I don't even have to ask, like, "Hey, what's your niche?" I'm like, "It's the business owners." They're like, "Yeah." So specializing in exit planning, that seems like a no-brainer. Um, I didn't even, well, I mean, I'm sure that that's that curriculum is out there, but what sort of inspired you to niche down to those folks and helping specifically with exit planning?
It was really two things. One was there was a big fact that came out back whenever I was kind of searching for what I was going to specialize in. And they were talking about this baby boomer transition. The $20 trillion opportunity was actually the book that was written. And they were talking about how baby boomers over the next 20 years are going to transfer this massive amount of wealth, and a lot of that was actually built inside of the value of their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first thing. And then the second piece was understanding through chatting with a few of them on the initially whenever I got into it, that nobody had ever talked to them about planning for the future of the business with the exit in mind. Like the concepts that we were discussing were completely foreign. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I think we've got something here. There's a huge amount of value that's about to change hands, and nobody's ever talked to these people about this type of transition of wealth.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's it just boggles my mind, man, like the lack of kind of general financial knowledge that just, I know a little bit about Spain's culture because I've lived there for a year, but American culture specifically, it's like how we're the richest country on earth. How are we so just baffled and just uninformed on this stuff? But I digress. So how, you know, how do you deliver an outsized impact for these business owners and help them plan their exits?
So we use a platform called Exit Map, and after I've used a couple of different softwares, but for the last several years we've used Exit Map, and what it is it's a coaching platform as opposed to a lot of them where it's, hey, this is what I see, this is what you should do. There was no real like getting the business owner attached to the planning process. And so Exit Map as a coaching platform allows us to take them through 5 workshops that goes through everything from who is in play as a decision maker, as a family member, as key employee to the business and the business owner decision maker, to everything from management succession. So, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, usually they have built their business around themselves. And one of the key features of selling a business is the business owner actually needs to be inconsequential to the day-to-day operations and continued
Mm-hmm.
growth of the business. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the biggest things that we do inside of Exit Map. We've got a part of it that's a seller sanity check. One of the biggest ahas that we give business owners is actual like third party transferable value and SBA transferable value. And I've heard stories from my CPA told me that one of their clients sold their business that looked just like mine, but mine's 20% bigger. So this is my value. All the way to like rules of thumb. Hey, I scribbled some stuff on a piece of paper, and this is what I believe that we can sell business for. And so making sure that they understand through this process that we provide, through this coaching platform that we provide them, of what the reality of business value is, and ultimately what they can do to either increase or stabilize that value for sale purposes.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. So, for any business owners that we have listening right now, well, actually, let me ask this first. Is there a specific type of business owner or types of business that you predominantly work with?
Licensed professional services is who we predominantly work with from an outreach perspective in this business and in most businesses. If you don't do targeted marketing, you will you'll hit the grind really, really fast. Working with a ton of different types of business owners, you never really learn where all of the key things about a particular business are because you work with so many different varieties. And so we'll work, depending on the business owner, we will work through anything that they've got, and we'll find that out through a discovery process on the front side. But whenever I'm reaching out to business owners, we like civil engineering firms, we like dentists, and basically all the healthcare community, dentists, physicians, and veterinarians that are licensed practitioners that also own the business.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of different reasons why. The primary one is I like working for people who care about something other than money. Like money's good, but we don't want to work with business owners who are willing to burn the employees or burn the management team for an extra 10 or 15% net proceeds from the sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very important aspect of it, and I think ties into the Dale Carnegie "How to Win Friends, Influence People" book we discussed before we started recording.
Yeah.
Um, you know, sidebar, do you have any strategies for, because you meet someone and they're charming and lovely and you're in the honeymoon phase, you're like, oh, they're wonderful. But then you work with them for 3 months, you're like, oh my, they would definitely burn this down for 10% more money. Is there any way, any questions, and any ways you determine that this particular client is a good fit for you before you engage them in a long-term working relationship?
Yeah, so on the front side of going through Exit Map, we provide a look under the hood, and so it's a 22 question survey that will tell us everything, or give the business owner the opportunity to give us a look under the hood, from profitability to operations to revenue and to their personal vision, not only for the business but for themselves after the business. And so that's an hour-long conversation where we'll be able to really dig into personality types, what they're trying to accomplish, what they actually want out of the sale. And when we talk about what they actually want out of the sale, if you can usually tend to find, are they really motivated to make sure that the people that helped them get to where they are today, as we start the exit planning process, are they the most important people that they're trying to make sure continue on with the company post sale? Or otherwise, where we say, how much money can we possibly squeeze out of this thing? Which that comes in a couple of different varieties, but in that intro interview of looking under the hood, we can tell if we would be a good fit to work together for the long term.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. Any specific red flags you look out for that you're just like, don't think this is going to be worth it?
Specific red flags. So in that intro, for the look under the hood, we look for anomalies. You said that your profitability has been growing, strong for the last 3 years. But in another section, I'll say revenue's been a roller coaster for the last 5 years. And so it'll give us the opportunity to dig into that a little bit more. But you can tell from a lot of the responses whether they're interested in actually implementing an exit plan. And by the way, like exit planning is something that I believe should be done. Everybody needs to do it. And my advice for everybody is start as soon as possible, because you'll give yourself more of a runway. You give yourself more options.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but on that, so don't do the planning if you have absolutely no interest in doing anything with it. But that's pretty much where we start. And then, face to face, whether it's a Zoom call, I prefer, especially locally, if I'm working with somebody in the Central Texas area, I like going to their office and seeing their people, seeing the operation, seeing how they act around, the people that they've got, ultimately making their money for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me, I forget who told me this, but they said new hires they would take to a restaurant, and if they, with anything less than like cordial with the wait staff, they were like, nah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good way to find to weed out jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important to just get in there and feel the vibe of the company firsthand.
Yeah. And I'm an
Yeah.
agreeable human. And so, that the initial conversation goes a long way to just seeing how they respond. Are they, Are they responding in a way that shows that they care about what they've built, who they've built it with? Um, it's easy to spot those things whenever you're sitting across the table from somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for any of our listeners who are business owners and perhaps have an exit on the horizon, or they just heard about exit planning, they're like, I should probably do that. It Do you have any advice, any low-hanging fruit, any activities they could engage in right now that would make their exit at some point in the future easier, more effective, and improve the valuation of their business?
Yeah, if I were to say there's one predominant thing that you should start thinking about is getting yourself out of the business,
Mhm.
becoming, that kind of true owner where, you show up, people know who you are, but you're not showing up for specific time every single day. You've gotten all of. I always tell business owners, make a list of all of the responsibilities that you have on a daily basis or weekly basis inside of the company. And the most powerful thing you can do is have a key employee or a key team be able to offload those responsibilities onto those capable and motivated people. That's where real value gets created. I'd say
Mhm.
actually that's where real value gets created most quickly is because,
Mhm.
the especially in this time period that we are now, and going back to that $20 trillion opportunity, the number of businesses for sale vastly outnumbers the pool of buyers that are looking to buy them. And so there's high competition on the sell side because the buyers right now, they can be very picky. If you don't have exactly what they're looking for, they can go find another buyer. Or sorry, they can go find another seller.
Mhm.
But most of the time, it's not the same case the other way around. Sellers are, since there's so many more of them, a lot of times you can't just go find another buyer.
Mhm. Got it. How does a business owner maximize the attractiveness of their business to buyers? Stand out amongst the sea of sellers.
Yeah. And so the management succession piece is huge. If a buyer looks into your business and sees that sees that you're integral to being there on a daily basis, if they were to buy it, they would be essentially buying themselves a job. And so
Mhm.
that would be a huge one. The second one is having that management team that is running your business, having that team in a place where they are motivated and, quite frankly, paid or incentivized to continue growing your business and making sure that it operates, and hums along the way you like it to. Those would be the two first big ones. And then outside of that, it's, um, the safety of the business. For the exit planning process, this might not necessarily be too much for the buyer, but making sure that if you're, a co-owner in a business, that if something unexpected were to happen to one of the owners during this, ramping up for transferable value process or exit planning, that it doesn't sink the company because there is no planning around, all right, if this happens, what happens next? If we don't have an answer for that and something happens, a lot of time the business goes down with the owners.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah. That's that's really important. That's awesome. Um,
Also,
so
know your value, Chris.
yeah.
Know your
Yeah.
value. Yeah. If you haven't had the company appraised for sale value, we love, discounted cash flow valuations are a great way to really understand the value of your business.
Mhm.
But go get that done. Don't take it from somebody who's not a valuator, because if you know where you're at, then you know what the gap between where you're at and where you're going is. And then it just
Mhm.
comes down to, all right, we need X amount of dollars post sale, post tax. Well, if the business is worth this much and you're outside of the business, your financial net worth is this much. Well, now we've got 2 points of, all right, if we grow the business to here, we can cover that gap. Or we can grow the business, maybe half of that and get as much money out of the business as possible and put it in the right places. And we can bridge the gap from both sides. So it's not a really one-sided, and I'd say on the like risk side, yeah, you can grow your business to this, but somebody still has to buy it. And so not putting all of your chips into the business's value and your financial viability for the long term being tied to the actual sale of the business, like make sure that you're getting as much money out of the business and putting it in the right places as possible.
You're talking setting up, investment
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
portfolios outside of the business as well.
Portfolios, alternatives for tax planning, and
Mhm.
non-correlated rate of return, and permanent insurance. Those are the three buckets in wealth planning that can really complement each other and provide the growth that you need of the net worth assets, provide the security with the insurance piece of it, and then big is the tax planning that comes from the alternative investment sleeve to be able to make sure if the market does a 2008 or a 2001 or even a 2018 where everything just got erased at the end of the year. Uh, Make sure not everything's correlated to this market that you can't control.
Yeah, yeah. Diversify, if you will.
Diversify.
Yeah. Awesome. So it sounds like you work with a lot of owners, and I'm sure you see a lot of the same issues. Is there anything that a lot of owners do that they should stop doing immediately in the business?
Yeah. Yeah, the one that really comes to my mind quickly is, and this is just off of experience of looking at business owners' balance sheets, is that the business is by far the most valuable asset on the books. And so when we get back to kind of the last piece of the conversation that we were having, if the business is so valuable on your books, it really requires two things. It requires an exit plan to make sure that the business owner can capitalize and actually realize the net proceeds of their most valuable asset. And two is get money out of the business in the right way. So a lot of times what we'll see is owners will take $1 out of a really profitable business that if they would have left it in was $3 to $7. And so
Mm.
making sure that you're taking money out of the business in the right way, and being efficient. One, owners get paid their going wage, and being responsible with that is one thing. Um, but taking money out of the business that doesn't need to be pulled out, or paying for using the business as what like the family's piggy bank. Every time you pull $1 out of a really profitable high growth business, you're pulling $1 out that was worth $7 inside the business. So do your
Mm.
exit planning.
Amen. Amen there. Awesome. So, from a uh, financial advisor perspective, wealth planner, wealth advisor perspective, how are you finding these clients? How are you getting on their radar?
Yeah, so that's three phases. So got to have something to do on a daily basis every week. And so we use a database that gives us access to real good data for all the people that we're looking for. And so with that, sending a lead in email and then following up with a call, doing it the fun way. And then in addition to that, the second phase of marketing is you've got to be able to see these people in person. The best way to get hit by a car is to stand in traffic. And so we become members of veterinary medical associations, physicians associations, and dental associations here locally, and go to all their events. We sponsor their golf tournaments. We will provide, big one is providing subject matter expert material. So everybody, all these associations, they're always looking for presenters. And so being able to come in with a really unique proposition around starting with tax planning and exit planning is a really good way to get people to notice you, because there are not a lot of professionals, especially in the finance space, that are talking about these two things or have the bandwidth or platforms to be able to actually do the work. And so that's the second phase of it. And the third phase is getting people out and doing quarterly dinners. And so reaching out to the associations, reaching out to everybody that we've worked with as current clients, and having them reach out to their networks and bring to usually we do dinner in the Domain here in North Austin, and we'll treat them to a nice meal and presenting really high quality information around the household endowment model, making sure that you're not, the big thing is most business owners, they're paying somewhere between a 37 to 41% effective tax on all the dollars that they're pulling out of their business. And I think that's ludicrous. My team thinks that's ludicrous. And so we actually have a solution for making sure that we can vastly reduce and in some cases eliminate income taxes. And then of course, stack on top of that, the exit planning piece. And we really provide a lot of value in just education around what's possible.
And I imagine the tax planning piece where you're saving them, substantial costs each year that grows the business even quicker because that money can be reinvested back into the business. So
yeah, back into the business,
double whammy,
or sitting on their personal balance sheet. But yeah, if you're not paying we had a $418,000 tax bill at the end of last year. It was October 2024, and guy pulled 920 grand out of his business, had this ridiculous tax bill, and through our planning, we were able to actually eliminate every dollar of that tax bill. Well, what it does is, you can put it back into the business and you can grow it if that's most appropriate. You can put it on your personal balance sheet and, consider it, what do you call it? Wealth management assets, and grow it there. But in the end, if you're not paying the United States, IRS, then it gives you more options. It gives you more leverage in what you do with the business, how much you have to grow it to be able to close the gap between what you have and what you want post sale. If you're growing both sides, then you don't have to go get the maximum amount that you possibly can for the business, which will mean more buyers will show up for that seller because it's a better deal. Hey, this is a guy that's a guy or a girl owner who is financially stable and not trying to sell this business for, as much or maybe more than it's worth just due to financial planning reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are there any specific topics or pain points that get the attention of these business owners the most?
The most, yes, taxes. Taxes are it's the universal language of everybody doesn't want to pay the Everybody doesn't want to pay the IRS. Like,
Nobody
if you
wants to
don't.
die. No one wants to pay taxes.
Exactly. And so with that, that is typically how we get the most attention, is helping them solve a problem that they already know they have, or helping them solve an issue that they just greatly dislike. And then the second piece of that is really, if you've got a business, especially if that business provides, a really good lifestyle for the owner and their family, everybody needs to, if you want to sell your business, exit planning is pretty much exclusively required. There are very few businesses that will sell with no planning involved. And so with that, I'll go back to what I said earlier, which is, if you want to sell your business, start your exit as soon as possible.
Amen.
The more time you give yourself, the more options you will provide yourself, and the higher the likelihood of a successful transfer of ownership. And like, even on that, right now, actually right now, 2024, the numbers were adjusted. And so for the longest time, since I started in exit planning, it was 92% of businesses do not sell. And that's a huge number. Now PricewaterhouseCooper has revised those numbers and said 95% of businesses, 95% of businesses will not transfer successfully. And so, and they added that successfully bit because, yeah, you might be able to sell your company and be a part of that, 8% of companies that sell. But what does that company look like 3 years, 5 years, 8 years from now? Is it still alive? Is the new owner still running it? Is the management team that you built still there? What's the turnover of the, for lack of better ways of saying it, rank and file employees since you sold the business? And so successful transfers, vast majority of the time, require planning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Corwin, well, this was awesome, man. I could just keep asking you questions about optimizing businesses for sale here for the rest of the afternoon, but I will respect your time. My final question for you, Corwin, is an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
What am I working towards? The pervasive thing that I'm always working towards is, my purpose here on earth is to help people. And so right now, we are working towards adding another planning professional to be able to take on the workload that we've got and continue to. It's hard to replace yourself or find somebody just like you, but to be able to start training somebody who's already got the prerequisite experience and continuing to really further help more people on an annual basis. That's this year. And then beyond that is just continuing to be free in this country and do the things that I love to do outside of my professional life.
That's awesome, man. I feel like you have a beautiful relationship with your work. Like, you're very passionate about it, but you also, know that you have other interests, and you value and honor those, and give those time as well. And that brings more energy and enthusiasm and just ability into your core work. So just want to commend you there, sir.
I appreciate that, Chris.
Yeah, yeah. And where can our audience find out more about you?
You can find more about me. Find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. You'll find all of our resources listed there if you want to learn about the household endowment model, or the power of the power of a high operating virtual family office, or even the exit planning process. Everything's loaded in there. And hit me up. Send me a note. give me a call. I'm happy to I'm happy. I love talking about helping business owners stop paying the IRS and get their companies ready to sell.
Amen. And we'll be sure to link all that in the show notes. Corwin, thank you so much for taking the time, man. This was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely, Chris. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.